Alright, this is lesson 76 for Algebra 1. This is quadratic formula. This is one of these really important lessons. So, remember, last week we did that completing the square. You remember how we did the same process over and over and over again? Remember doing that? Raise your hand if you remember doing that over and over again. Okay, so in math, we're like, we do all this process over and over again. Why don't we make a formula for it, which just does it all at once, so we don't have to do the process. So someone made up this thing called the quadratic formula, and they just used and I'll show you how they figured that out in the next couple of days here. But they figured out that you could just use a formula to solve the answers, okay? Instead of going through the process. All you need to know is A, B, and C, plug it in, and then you get your answers, okay? Because isn't that easier than doing the whole process? Yeah, it's a lot easier. So these are the steps for today, the quadratic formula. You have to find A, B, and C. Then this is the formula. You plug it in, and then you solve or evaluate the expression. Okay. Then there's a way to remember the quadratic formula. I'm going to sing it to you. Okay. Ready? X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I sing when I go home every day. Okay. So let's try to sing this together. That way we can memorize it, because you have to memorize this formula. Okay. Ready? X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, one more time, that way we got it. Ready, and begin. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, you guys said it correctly. The note was a little off, a little flat. Okay, let's work on that. No. Yes, sir?
Okay, so you said you sing like every day when you...
Is this about math right now?
No.
Okay, so we need to focus. Okay. So those are the steps. Memorize the formula. A good way to memorize it is singing it, okay? Because if you sing it, you could hum it to yourself during a test and you can write it down, okay? Or for your homework. Okay. Does that look like a scary formula to memorize at first?
Yes.
A little bit. It can be, okay? But maybe not for some of you. All right. I'll show you to do a couple, and then we're going to do a few together, okay? So eyes up here. You're watching right now. Not writing, watching only. Number 1. So we got b squared plus 5b minus 24 is equal to 0. Now, I could do x blocks on this one, but it says to use the quadratic formula. So I have to show how to do this with the quadratic formula. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what a, b, and c are. A is equal to 1. B is equal to 5. C is equal to negative 24. That's the first thing. Okay, usually we could do x blocks, or we could try. That's sometimes easier, but I think the quadratic formula is just as easy. So I'm going to write down the quadratic formula. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now I'm going to take my quadratic formula and I'm going to plug in all of these values. And wherever I replace a letter, I'm going to put parentheses around that, okay? Because I have a negative b and sometimes I have a negative b. So we're going to write x is equal to negative b, so we have negative, and then 5 is our b here, plus or minus the square root. B squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4 times a is 1, times c is negative 24, okay, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1, okay? Okay, it looks like scary right now, right? Now we're going to do Pemdas, okay? So, parentheses, yeah, this whole square root's in its own parentheses, so I'll work that out. So the 5 squared becomes 25. We got negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 24 is positive 96. Okay. Take the square root of that. Bring the rest down. Plus or minus. Got negative 5. All over 2 times 1 is 2. Okay. 25 plus 96 is 121. Plus or minus sign on the outside. We have negative 5 here. all over 2. Okay, square root of 121 is 11, right? So you have plus or minus 11. This is just like the last step on complete the square now. Okay, what's negative 5 plus 11? 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's one of your answers. Negative 5 minus 11 is negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. Here are your two answers for number 1. Okay? Did I do a bunch of steps on this one to get the answers, like complete the square? No, this one was actually easier, okay? I think that was a lot easier. So what did I do? Again, I figured out A, B, and C. Started with the quadratic formula, plugged them into each parenthesis, using parentheses, evaluated each one, and solved, okay? So sometimes it's going to come out really easy like that, okay? Other times, it'll be a little bit more difficult, okay? So, getting warm here. Give me a moment. Number 2 now. Okay, same thing. We're going to do A, B, and C first. So A is equal to 2, B is equal to 5, C is equal to negative 18. Okay, then we're going to write down the quadratic formula. So you write down the quadratic formula as follows. Okay, then you're going to plug things in. So it's going to be x is equal to negative b. So we have negative 5. Putting into parentheses, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4 times a is 2, times c, which is negative 18. Okay, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. Okay, so we have negative 5 plus or minus 5 squared is 25 again. We have negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 18. We're just going to do a side problem. 64, 144. Yep. And we're going to add that. All over 2 times a, which is 4. 125 plus 144 is 169. Take the square root of that. We have a plus and minus sign here. We have negative 5 all over 4. Square root of 169 is 13. So we have negative 5. Plus or minus 13 all over 4. Now we just have two problems to answer. What's negative 5 plus 13? 8 divided by 4 is 2. Negative 5 minus 13 is
2.
Nope. I'm sorry, negative 5 plus 13 is, did I do that correctly? Oh, 8 divided by 4, yeah, that's 2. Negative 5 minus 13 is negative 18. Negative 18 divided by 4 is, well, what's negative 18 divided by 4? Does that divide simply? No, so we just simplify it. So this could be, we know 2 goes in each of these, so it's going to be negative 9 over 2. So your second answer is negative 9 halves. Okay, which is a fractional answer. That's it. Okay, was that hard?
No.
No, so this is complete the square, and it's fast. Okay, remember how I said you can't do Xbox on all the problems? We could have done Xbox on number 1, right? We could have done it, and that would have been easier, I think. But on number 2, you can't do Xbox, and you can't do complete the square. Or you could do complete the square, but instead let's just work it out. It's a lot easier, I think, this way. Alright, so today is Monday. So let's have one still at 2's about number 1, and then 2 someone's about number 2, and then write these down. Ready, set, and go. We're doing this one together, okay? So we got x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0. I'm starting off with very simple problems. Okay, this is super simple. Okay, a is equal to what, everyone? 1. B is equal to? C is equal to? Negative 2. Okay, I could do Xbox on this one. I know I could, but because I know I'm good at it. But it's saying use the quadratic formula, so we're going to write down the quadratic formula next. So you're going to take your quadratic formula, write it down. Then I want you to start plugging in numbers. So we have negative b. You're going to put negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 1 squared, minus 4 times a is 1. Times c is negative 2, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared, minus 4 times a times c. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Did y'all see that? Again, 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times positive 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Okay, all over 2a, which is 2 times 1. Like so. Then we have negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 9 all over 2. What's the square root of 9, everyone?
3.
Okay, so we have negative 1 plus or minus 3 all over 2. What's negative 1 plus 3?
2.
2 divided by 2 is?
1.
Good. Next one. What's negative 3 or negative 1 minus 3? Negative 1 minus 3 is? Negative 4 divided by 2 is?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So these are your two answers. Okay. Was that hard?
No.
No. And once you get good at this, you could start skipping steps. I never want you to skip steps unless you're like getting good grades and you're not screwing anything up. Now, you want to move? Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Number 4, let's do this one together with your neighbor. All right? So turn your neighbor, tell them what step 1 is. Okay, A is what, everyone?
1.
B?
4.
C?
Negative 21.
Negative 21. Good. Okay. Tell your neighbor the next step. What should you do?
Write down.
Okay, what am I supposed to do, everyone? What am I writing down? The formula. Good. Okay, turn your neighbor, tell them what the next step is. Okay, what am I doing, everyone? Plugging it in. Okay, so I'm writing down negative b. Now watch what happens with negative b here. What's b equal to again? Good. So you're going to write down negative 4. Do you all see how I put negative 4 in the parentheses? What's that negative 4 really going to turn into? Good. So that's why we use parentheses, because when we deal with that negative 4, we have to make sure we write it correctly. Okay, then we're going to go square root of b squared, which is negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a is equal to 1, times c, which is equal to negative 21. Okay. All over 2a, which is 2 times a, which is 1, right? All right, continue. What's negative 4 again equal to? Positive 4, good. B squared is equal to, or negative 4 squared is equal to? 16. Negative 4 times 1 is? Negative 4 times negative 21 is? Positive. What's negative 4 times negative 21? Positive 84. Good. Okay, 2 times 1 is? 2. Good. Are you working on this, Mitch? Okay. 16 plus 84 is? 100. Oh, that's a nice number. Right? Square root of 100 is what? 10, right? So we know it's going to be 4 plus or minus 10 all over 2. Now, what's 4 plus 10?
14.
14 divided by 2 is? 7. What's your second answer? That's your first answer. What's your second one?
3. Negative 3.
4 minus 10 divided by 2. Figure that out, kids. I heard 3 and negative 3. I want you to think through that. Okay, so what's the answer? 3 or negative 3? Negative 3, right? Because we know that 4 minus 10 is negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, those are your two answers. That's how you do number 4. Is this hard?
No.
No, it's getting easier, right? Okay, now let's do the next one. Yeah, next one you're going to be doing using your iPads. Okay, so pull out Desari. I want you to work out your problem on paper because, you know, it takes a little bit of writing, but put your final answer there. This one on number 5 will be, you'll have a fraction like number 2 was, remember? But these aren't huge numbers, so you could definitely do it. Okay, ready, set, go. So this is your answer for number 5, okay? Any questions on number 5? Some of you got it totally correct. Others of you missed one. You made a silly mistake. You forgot to divide. Others of you didn't get anything. So make sure you're careful. Write this down. Raise your hand if you need to write this one down. Okay? And remember, those little silly mistakes really make a difference when you do such a large formula. Okay? So one of the emphasis points that you need to know for math is you have to be accurate every time. That's kind of a basic skill. Okay? Accuracy. Okay, next. Number 6, okay? Let's do number 6 together and let's just see what happens, okay? Number 6, what's A? A is 2, good. B? C? Okay, good. So we're going to write down our formula. So write down the quadratic formula, and then we're going to plug the numbers in. Now look what happens on this one. We have -5. Not a big deal. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is -5 squared, minus 4 times A. A is 2 times C is 4. All over 2 times A, which is 2 times 2. Which is 4, right? Okay, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to work at simplifying. So we have 5 plus or minus the square root of -5 squared, which is 25. Now look what happens here. What's -4 times 2? -8, right? -8 times +4 is? -32. Good. Okay. So I keep working this out. 2 times 2 is 4. What's 25 minus 32? 25 minus 32 is? -7. Good. Okay. Now look at what happens here. What's the square root of -7? Is there such thing as the square root of a negative number? No. Right now there is. In Algebra 2 there will be, but what happens when we have a square root of a negative number? It's, what's the answer? No. It's no solution. So when you see a square root of a negative number, the answer is no solution. Okay? Actually, right, no solution. Okay, was that hard?
No.
All right, so that concludes our lesson. So what I'd like you to do right now is turn to your neighbor, explain, and discuss these 4 questions. What did we learn? How do we do that? How does this fit in math? How might we use this in real life? Ready, set, go.